Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be tackling something pretty big.
Yeah.
The Bahá'í Faith's approach to, well, how individuals and society transform, you know? All those writings, all those principles, gotta unpack it all.
I think we'll find some really cool connections, too, between how we grow personally
Right.
and how we can actually make the world better, like real change.
Two sides of the same coin, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can't really have one without the other in the Baha'i faith. Individual progress, societal progress.
So not just like working on myself and that's it. Gotta connect it
To action, right? Putting it into practice out in the world.
How does it actually work, though?
Well, there's this quote from Shoghi Effendi, a central figure in the Baha'i faith. He said, The Baha'i faith seeks to regenerate the individual and reconstruct society. The one without the other is incomplete.
Wow. Powerful stuff.
Really drives home the point that it's both, Can't just focus on being spiritual alone. Got to change society too, and vice versa.
Makes sense. But like in real life, can you give me an example?
Sure. Imagine a young person super into their Baha'i faith, right?
Okay.
They're studying hard, maybe in college, pushing themselves intellectually.
Got it.
But at the same time, they're deeply involved in their community too, organizing these things called study circles.
Study circles.
Yeah. They're gatherings focused on spiritual learning, figuring out how to apply Baha'i principles to daily life. Or maybe they're leading a group for younger kids, a junior youth group, empowering them, teaching them about morals and spirituality.
So it's like more than just being a good student or volunteering on the side.
Right. It's about this connection between their own growth and helping others.
That's what makes this approach different, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not just checking off a good deed box. It's using everything they're learning, their discipline from studies, their spiritual insights.
To make a difference.
Exactly. It's who they are, not just what they do.
So powerful, this idea that personal growth isn't selfish. It's like fuel for something much bigger.
And it kind of leads us to this tension a lot of societies are dealing with, right?
Oh, what's that?
Individualism versus collectivism.
Big words.
I know, right? But we kind of know what they mean.
Yeah, but how does the Baha'i faith define them?
Well, with individualism, it's all about personal ambition, success, even if it's at the expense of the group.
The classic me first kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Individual needs over the community's needs.
What about the other side, collectivism? What happens if that goes too far?
Then it can stifle people, It's good to prioritize the group, harmony, all that.
Right.
But take it too far, no one can be creative, express themselves fully.
So where's the Baha'i faith in all this middle ground?
Absolutely. It's all about balance.
Yeah.
Shoghi Effendi actually warned about both extremes.
Oh, really?
He talked about the dangers of, and I quote, exaggerated emphasis on personal rights, but also suppression of individuality. See, the teachings say each person is unique, valuable.
Okay.
But we're also connected, responsible for the whole.
Two sides of the same coin again? But in real life, how do we balance that? Sounds tricky.
Yeah, but there's this tool, this practice in the Baha'i faith called consultation.
Consultation?
Basically, it's how they make decisions together, collaboratively. Everyone gets to speak to be heard.
Interesting. Any example of that in action?
Let's say there's a local Baha'i community.
They have a special name, right?
Yeah, they're called a local spiritual assembly. So this assembly wants to do a service project.
To help their neighborhood.
Right, like maybe there's not enough food or healthcare is hard to access. So they'd consult, talk about different ideas, what's good, what's challenging.
Everyone gets their say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in the end, the decision reflects like the wisdom of the whole group.
Not just majority rules or the loudest voice wins.
Nope. It's about understanding each other, even if you disagree. It's in families, communities, even national decisions, this consultation.
We went from this huge idea of transformation to how a group picks a project.
I know, right? But it's all connected.
There's one piece missing, though, isn't there? Service.
Oh, absolutely. That's central.
We all know that, quote, the best of men are those who devote themselves to the service of others.
Right, from Bahá'u'lláh himself.
But how does the Baha'i faith actually view service? And how is it part of this whole transformation thing?
It's more than just like charity or volunteering. It's putting spiritual principles into action.
Making the world better, hands-on.
Exactly. Building a world that's more just, more unified.
So it's got to line up what I believe and what I do.
Yeah. Any example of this?
Sure.
Okay, so there's this program, the Junior Youth Spiritual Empowerment Program.
Catchy name.
I know, right? But it's not just keeping kids busy after school. It's deeper.
How so?
They get help with school stuff, resources.
Okay.
But also they work on their character, developing purpose, responsibility.
So helping them as individuals.
Right. But also creating responsible citizens, helping society.
That interconnectedness again.
Exactly. It's a beautiful example.
This has been super insightful, but gotta admit, this dual transformation sounds tough. Like, are we supposed to be perfect overnight?
No, not at all. The Baha'i writings are very clear. It's a journey,
Phew.
Lifelong learning, always growing. Shoghi Effendi talked about it a lot.
What'd he say?
He said, the tasks that lie ahead call for unrelaxing vigilance, concerted effort, and supreme sacrifice.
Vigilance. Intense word.
Right, but it's not about being a saint instantly. It's about always striving to be better.
That makes sense, but in this crazy world, how do we even stay focused on that?
Yeah.
On growing ourselves and serving others?
That's a great question, and that's something we'll definitely dig into deeper in the next part of our deep dive. We'll unpack the specific challenges and opportunities that come up on this path, for individuals in society, and how the Baha'i teachings offer a way through all those complexities.
Can't wait. But for now, let's give everyone a moment to absorb all this.
Yeah, good idea.
Incredible stuff, really. We'll be back soon to continue our deep dive into, this fascinating world of Baha'i thought.
Welcome back. Glad we can keep going with this whole individual and social transformation thing.
Me too. We were saying before, even small acts of service can help make the world better, right? But all this transforming, this striving, sounds like hard work. What keeps us going? You're
right. It's not a walk in the park. The Baha'i writings don't sugarcoat it either. It takes effort, looking at ourselves honestly, and being willing to see where we mess up. Shoghi Effendi, he used this word a lot. Vigilance?
Vigilance. That's serious. Why is it so important for, changing ourselves and society?
Well, think about it. We're surrounded by messages that pull us in the wrong direction, like consumerism.
Buy.
Exactly. Or social media, all about appearances.
Keeping up with the Joneses' digital style.
Right. And then there are the prejudices we all have, even if we don't realize it.
So it's like swimming upstream. Got to constantly fight the current.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And that's where vigilance comes in. It's about knowing those forces are there, pulling us away from what matters.
Okay.
And choosing to line ourselves with, like unity, justice, love. The stuff at the heart of the Baha'i teachings.
Makes sense, but this striving to be better can be daunting. How do we stay motivated?
Oh, it can, for sure. But the Baha'i writings offer hope, too. They remind us we're not alone in this. There's a loving creator, the guidance of the writings, and a whole global community, everyone aiming for the same thing.
So we got backup.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And every step we take, big or small, it helps humanity as a whole. It all adds up.
That's encouraging. But, okay, how do we actually live this dual transformation out? The world feels so messy, divided.
That's the million-dollar question. No easy answer. But the Baha'i teachings, they offer some principles. One of the big ones is unity and diversity.
Unity and diversity, we hear that a lot. But what does it mean, Baha'i style?
It's about recognizing that humanity is one, fundamentally. But also appreciating the beauty of each person, each culture, the differences.
So it's not just tolerating differences.
No, it's embracing them, seeing them as strengths, making us richer, not dividing us.
From just liking diversity to a unified society, how do we bridge that gap?
The Baha'i writings, they're clear. Get rid of all prejudice. Race, religion, gender, anything that divides us.
Easier said than done. That prejudice stuff runs deep.
It does, but it starts with us looking inside, challenging our own biases,
Facing those uncomfortable truths.
Yeah. And then that affects how we treat others, the choices we make, how we participate in society.
Can you give an example? Make it real.
Imagine a workplace where diversity is actually valued. Not just, we have to, but truly celebrated.
Okay, I can see that.
Or a community where people from all backgrounds come together to solve problems.
Because they meet each other's perspectives.
Exactly. Or a world where education teaches us to understand each other's cultures, beliefs.
Sounds lovely, but that takes more than just good intentions, right?
You're absolutely right. And that's where those tools we talked about come in. Consultation and community building.
Remind me about consultation again.
It's about making decisions together. Everyone contributes, like we talked about before. Really powerful for getting everyone on the same page, finding solutions that work for the whole group.
And community building goes along with that.
Definitely. Baha'i Faith is big on strong communities where people feel connected, supported.
Like a safety net?
Yeah. And where they feel empowered to make things better, contribute. The writings call this organic growth. It's about relationships working together.
This is hopeful stuff, but the world's got some serious problems right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
Climate change, the economy, politics are a mess. Does this whole Baha'i approach to transformation address that?
Well, the Bahá'í Faith doesn't offer, specific policies.
Right.
It does give a framework for understanding these problems. And at the heart of it is this principle, the oneness of humanity.
Oneness again. But how does that help with, climate change or economic inequality? Those are huge.
It challenges us to see beyond ourselves, beyond our own country even.
Okay.
To recognize we're all connected and to find solutions that benefit everyone, not just me or my group.
From me to we thinking, basically.
Yeah, exactly. My well-being is tied to the well-being of the planet, of everyone on it.
Powerful stuff. But how do we go from thinking that way to actually doing something, turning this oneness into real solutions?
The Baha'i teachings, they say we need both spiritual and practical stuff to tackle these challenges.
What do you mean?
On the spiritual side, it's about developing qualities like justice, compassion, generosity.
Becoming better people.
Yeah. And recognizing everyone deserves a good life and doing what we can so everyone has the resources for that.
What about the practical side?
Supporting things that help the environment, promote economic justice, things like that.
Makes sense.
Also, talking to each other constructively, working together across different fields, creating systems that are fair, sustainable.
I'm seeing how it all connects now, realizing we're all in this together and then acting on that, both as individuals and as a society.
Yeah, that's it.
But man, these global problems can feel so overwhelming. Where do we even start? Can one person or even a small group really make a difference?
And that's where this idea of collective action is so important. The Baha'i writings say that even though these challenges are huge, we as humans have the potential to overcome them.
We're not doomed.
Not at all. But it takes all of us, a united effort.
So we can't just wait for the government or some big organization to fix it. It starts with us.
Exactly. Baha'i teachings emphasize that change starts from the ground up. Individuals and communities coming together, taking care of their own areas.
Okay, that makes it feel less scary, less overwhelming, one step at a time.
That's it. And all those small steps, they multiply, they become a ripple effect, transforming communities and eventually the world.
This has been amazing. So much to think about, but I feel like there's even more to unpack here.
Oh,
Can't wait to continue this deep dive. After a short break, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of how to actually live out these powerful ideas. And we're back. We've been talking about how individual actions can have a ripple effect, helping solve these global issues.
Right, like each person can contribute.
But gotta be honest, change can be kind of scary, even if it's good change.
Yeah, I get that. It's human nature to resist sometimes, especially when it shakes things up, makes us uncomfortable.
So how does the Baha'i Faith deal with that? The need for change, but also our wanting things to stay familiar, safe?
Well, the teachings say we got to approach change with wisdom, patience,
Okay.
and most importantly, a spirit of unity. It's not about forcing it on people, but creating spaces where everyone can talk, understand each other.
So more like inviting people in, not dictating.
Exactly. There's this analogy in the Baha'i writings about a garden.
A garden.
Yeah, it describes social transformation. Like a gardener prepares the soil, plants seeds, takes care of the plants as they grow. That's how we should approach social change too. Careful, attentive, and understanding that everything's connected.
I like that. The garden analogy really captures how organic change is. It takes time.
It does. But gardens don't always go as planned, right? Weeds pop up, bugs attack, the weather's unpredictable.
So true. So how do we apply that to social change? That resilience, that ability to adapt?
That's where consultation and learning come in.
Those tools again.
Yep. Consultation helps us work through disagreements, find solutions that work for everyone, and learning, well, it means admitting we don't know everything.
Always room to grow.
Right. Being open to new ideas, experimenting, constantly trying to understand better.
This reminds me of vigilance, actually. It's not just sticking to our principles, it's also being flexible, changing with the times.
Exactly. It's this delicate balance, holding on to your values, but also knowing when to adjust your approach as you learn.
So not a rigid plan, but a clear vision, but willing to change course along the way.
You got it. Embracing the journey, knowing there'll be bumps, but trusting the process, that things will transform eventually.
This has been a mind-blowing deep dive, really. Service, consultation, oneness, collective action.
Lots to cover.
But before we finish, what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember? the big takeaway?
I think it's that each of us can make the world better. Every act of service counts, no matter how small.
Love that.
When we live by those principles, unity, justice, love, we become that change. Spreading hope, transforming our communities, and eventually, the whole world.
Powerful stuff. And on that note, got to leave our listeners with something to ponder.
Oh, I like where this is going.
If every act of service makes the world more unified, more just, what act will you choose today? Just something to think about.
What a great question to end on. It's all about applying these ideas, finding your own way to contribute. Join the movement however you can. Because the path of transformation, it's open to everyone. Challenging, yes, but filled with purpose. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone.